Hello, and welcome to another episode of Healthy Cooking with Jay, brought to you by Newton Community Farm. I am your host, Jay Villar. I am also a nutritional therapist practitioner, as well as Newton Community Farm's operations, communications, and events manager. And every Monday, I get to be with you and talk to you about healthy cooking and why it's important, and show you some basic recipes that you can be making in your own home. So today I am very excited to cook with one of my favorite vegetables that is in season. It is used in dishes, both in salads, as well as steamed, as well as sauteed, as well as grilled, as well as in the oven. And what I'm able to do is teach you a lesson on how to cook this magical vegetable in a way that you'll be able to do it in your own home. So what the vegetable is let me go grab it from my fridge. It is asparagus or asparagi. So asparagus is in season right now. So during the month of May, it's one of the vegetables that are available. Asparagus can be found growing in the wild. It takes about 3 years for an asparagus to actually grow up and be edible. So if you're farming asparagus, you have to have that patience and making sure that you have that time available to grow it. But once it's ready, it's phenomenal. It just looks like a little stalk growing out of the ground. You just like snap it out and eat it right then and there. So it's been pretty great. So when you buy asparagus, you pretty much want to try to cook with it right away, either that night or definitely the next day. But there are ways and tips that you could employ to keep your asparagus fresh if you're not going to be using it on an immediate basis. So one of the easiest things that I like to do, and kind of show you what to do with mine, is to take a paper towel. So we took a paper towel, and I simply damped the paper towel, and then I placed the asparagus on the bottom of it, and then wrapped it in with a rubber band that was already with us, and then just put it into the plastic bag and the crisper. So I was able to kind of use that as a way to keep this as fresh and as long as it possibly can in the crisper before it gets really, really bad. Another thing that you can do is if you get like a jar or a glass and you simply fill it with water, and then you take the asparagus and you kind of put it in the glass, then you'll be able to put that into a plastic bag and put that into your refrigerator as well for more storage. So kind of watering your asparagus as if it was like a flower, kind of keeps it as fresh as you possibly can. So when you're looking for asparagus, I'm going to try to take mine out right now. What you're looking for are the sort of tight buds in the asparagus to kind of show you kind of how fresh it is. And if it starts to kind of like bud out, then that's a way in which the asparagus isn't necessarily as fresh as you possibly can. It's still good, still edible. Definitely you can still eat it. But if you're looking for the freshest asparagus out there, you want to make sure that the buds, the tips of the asparagus plant is as close as it possibly can. Now, there are a couple things that people have been known to do when they're trying to prepare their asparagus, is to figure out where their asparagus fiber plant ends and where the sort of hard plant starts. And a big kind of like rule of thumb is if you just like break it, it will naturally snap where you need to discard. But sometimes there is a little bit of asparagus at the very end there that you could possibly still use. So another good technique to consider is to roll the asparagus with the knife. So let me kind of just show you here what I'm talking about. I can just yeah, okay, great. All right, so if you just kind of get the knife going, then you'll be able to sort of see kind of where the asparagus will naturally cut. So it's just like a small pressure at the very end, and all you're doing is kind of rolling, and then where it kind of cuts naturally, that's also a good spot where the asparagus will naturally separate. Okay. All right, so that's kind of like a quick, easy way to tell where you can be cutting it. And today, I'm going to show you 3 easy recipes that you could use when you're preparing your asparagus. The first recipe is going to show you how to blanch your asparagus. I'm going to show you a quick, easy saute with it, as well as a way to prepare it in the oven. So all varying techniques, all different levels of deliciousness depending on kind of what you're feeling that night. And we'll begin. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is the recipe for the oven. So right now I preheated my oven for 400 degrees. So you want to make sure that it's nice and hot. And what you're going to want to do is take some of your asparagus. So I'm just going to take just 5 asparaguses here. I'm going to do that rolling technique again and just kind of cut it out. I'm going to take my asparagus and just wash it here in the sink and get any grinds out. And a big thing that you want to make sure that you do, especially if you're going to be roasting it, is you want to make sure that you dry your asparagus. So you want to make sure that it's nice and dry. All right, so we got a nice dried asparagus, and take a little like plastic Ziploc bag. This is an easy way to just kind of get your flavors all kind of mixed in together. So if you were a child of the 80s, like I was, you remember Shake and Bake? Well, this is asparagus shake and bake. So you just take a little bit of olive oil, take a little bit of a little salt, oops, sorry, not too much, and then a little pepper. Just gonna pepper this up. Oop, got the cap in there. All right. And then we're going to shake it up. Get all that great oil in there. And I simply have my roasting pan with some parchment paper on there. So now I'm just going to set my timer for 10 minutes. I'm going to put it in the oven. All right, So we got that going. So while I'm showing you, so while we're waiting for that asparagus to roast up, I'm going to show you the blanching recipe. So blanching recipe is how to kind of keep your asparagus green and trapped with flavor as much as you possibly can. So blanching pretty much requires a freezing process at the end. I'm take my asparagus here. Once again, I'm going to just kind of use that knife trick while I roll it. I just like find the asparagus where we cut it before. So great. So I have some water boiling. So just get your pot there, and got it nice and boiling. And this is a really quick, easy recipe. So I'm just gonna put it in the pot, and I'm gonna let it boil for 2 minutes. So let me just kind of keep an eye on the time here. And 2 minutes. Timer. 2 minutes. All right. 3 minutes actually. All right. So while that's going, I'm going to show you kind of what I'm going to be doing with the saute. So I have my cast iron pan here, which I love. It's probably my most used pan in the kitchen. And I'm going to take the asparagus and rinse it off again. And this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the chop that I'm about to get on this thing. So I'm going to just finely chop asparagus into little kind of like pieces here of leftovers. And what I also did was I took the garlic, so I just opened up a garlic head and just created little like minced pieces here. So these are going to be like delicious little bites of garlic flavor that's going to be roasted in the pan. So all I'm going to do, this is like, I got 3 things going on at the same time here. It's very exciting. So I got about 6 minutes left for my asparagus in the oven. I got about 1 minute left for my asparagus that we're going to blanch. And I'm heating up my cast iron skillet here to get ready for our saute. So I'm just going to heat it up, a little olive oil. I'm also going to use a little bit of butter. I'll add a little bit more flavor towards the end. You know that butter, so I'm going to get my butter out. All right. And now what I'm going to do is get my pan nice and hot. But in the meantime, I have my blanched asparagus ready to go. So when you cook asparagus, especially when you're boiling it, you can see that it's going to change color. So it's going to actually get a darker green when you start to boil some of the asparagus. And all I'm going to be doing is getting out of the boiling water, and then immediately bathe it in the blanched water. So this is just a bowl full of ice and water, and now I'm just blanching it. So I'm going to let that cool there. I don't need my pot anymore. I'm going to empty it here in the sink. I'll switch my pan just so I'm kind of closer to you guys. So now all I'm going to do with the sauteed asparagus is I'm heating up my pan, get it nice and hot, and I'm just going to add in our garlic, and I'm just going to let that garlic cook here for a minute and get those flavors going. So while I have that going, so what is asparagus good for the body for? So asparagus has been known to help symptoms of arthritis. So that's a really good use of the vegetable, helping alleviate sort of like that sort of pain there. It's also been used for a good diuretic, so kind of helping the urinary tract and kind of pee things out. Asparagus has a compound in there called asparagus, and that's like a compound that the body sort of finds, and that's where the smell comes in whenever you kind of urinate asparagus. So this is always very fascinating when you kind of have that asparagus smell after you urinate. So now that I have the garlic just being sauteed there, it smells delicious in here. All I'm simply going to do is just add my chopped up asparagus into the pot, into the pan, and just let that go. Now it doesn't take very long to cook. You're pretty much just letting all of these like flavors kind of meld, and then when you add the butter, it kind of cools things down, and you kind of get more of that buttery flavor into your dish. So that butter is also that really great healthy fat that we need in our bodies. And butter just makes everything taste so good. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of sea salt, a little cracked pepper, and then all right, so that's just waiting for the garlic to kind of crisp up, and that's how you know that it's done. So I'm gonna kind of just like plate this, show you what I got. This looks so good. I'm trying to get every little bit of asparagus and garlic out of the pan, because that is just good. And now, similar to what I'm going to do with the Blanch asparagus, all I'm going to do is cut up a little bit of lemon. Let's add a little bit sort of like burst of flavor. And then same with the asparagus that we just blanched. Add a little bit of lemon and sea salt and a little pepper. And just as we're getting finished with our blanched recipe, we also have our oven that's about to go off here in the next 20 seconds. So we're just gonna call that done and pull it out of our oven. And with this one, how we know it's done is we're just gonna take our little fork test. Oh, there we go. No, that's definitely done. It goes through nice and crispy. And all I'm going to do with these guys is have a little bit of Parmesan cheese. I'm just going to sprinkle on. Cancel the oven. And there we go. So we have asparagus cooked 3 ways. We have one that was sauteed with garlic over the hot cast iron skillet, and just a little bit of garlic, a little bit of asparagus. Oh, that's really good. That's great. We have the asparagus that was roasted at 400 degrees for 10 minutes, sprinkled with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. Mmm. Really yumminess. And we have the asparagus that was boiled for about 3 minutes and then blanched, so it kind of keeps that color. And we just sprinkled salt, pepper, and some lemon on there. So this would be great for like on a salad or just a side dish. We have it ready to go. Oh, great. So I hope that kind of inspired you guys to think about, you know, what you can do with a seasonal vegetable that's coming out now, asparagus, and hope you enjoy it. We have asparagus growing on in Newton Farm that I saw just on Friday when I was there. It looked great. And hope you guys enjoy our little demonstration here on asparagus and what it does for you and how to cook it 3 times. So enjoy the rest of your afternoon and look forward to seeing you on next time I'm here. Okay, bye.